Welcome to Hardin Local. I'm Phil Tall. Glad to have you with us. I'm joined by Daniel Cameron, former Kentucky Attorney General and 2023 Republican governor candidate who ran for governor in 2023. And now he's running for the United States Senate. First time this seat has been open since 1984. Mitch McConnell's retirement marks the end of his 42 years of serving Kentucky as a U.S. Senator. Daniel's a Hardin County native, grew up here in Elizabethtown, and full disclosure for our viewers, he and I have known each other since we were kids at Grace Heartland Church in the late 90s.
It's been a long time, brother. Long time.
Sure has. Big thank you to our sponsors who back our election coverage, the Plumbing Doctor and Omni Design Group, both Hardin County businesses. More on both of them in a few minutes. Daniel, thanks for making time for us. I know you're busy. Every candidate in this race gets the same questions in the same order with the same time limits. So you ready to dig in?
I'm ready, brother. Thank you so much.
All right. Start off with the intro, which is I like to lead with why people are doing things. So you're running for U.S. Senate. I'd like to know why this office specifically.
Well, first, let me just say, ask that your viewers forgive me if my screen's a little shaky. I've been traveling the state and I'm in a car right now. I just came from Russell County and on my way, I had been in Logan County before that. So we're in the midst of a really big statewide tour and hence why I'm in the vehicle right now. But I jumped into this race, and as I've shared with people today and as I shared with people yesterday in Somerset, I got into this race because of our three boys, Theodore, Bennett, and Harrison. We want to see them grow up in a country that lives up to the ideals of our founding, a country that is based on merit and opportunity, not one that is driven by the divisions that have largely been pushed on us by the left in the form of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We want to see a country not built on DEI. We want to see a country built on merit, excellence, intelligence, and integrity. And the United States Senate is a platform from which you can speak about that issue. It's a platform from which you can help set the conditions that allow people to thrive when it comes to putting more money in their pocket and paying for gas and groceries and saving some just for the long haul. It's about energy independence and making sure that this Commonwealth continues to lead when it comes to coal and natural gas generation. And it's about making sure we're standing up for our farmers and fighting for our law enforcement community and just the everyday working men and women of this Commonwealth. And so that's why we got into the race. It's about future generations. And we feel very strongly about our ability to win on May 19th. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be on this platform. This is pretty amazing.
Oh, that is great. Curious too about if there was a story. Oh, give me a second. Are you back?
Oh yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
You got me?
I'll get it. Yeah, we got you now. You're good. All right. What happened in your life that led you to run? We're looking for more of a story here.
When I was, I never had run for, and I didn't go to my first Lincoln dinner until I was a senior in college. And what led me to run for Attorney General was relationships I built with the law enforcement community and folks that were in the judicial sphere. And so I decided to jump into the race for the Attorney General because I felt deeply that we needed to try to help address the public safety of life challenge of our lifetime. And that was the drug epidemic. And so I said that I wanted to help fight that fight as the Attorney General and jumped into the race and was fortunate to win the AG's office. And I was proud of the fact that we brought in nearly $900 million to the state to fight the opioid epidemic. And what I'm really proud of bringing that money in, 50% of those dollars have gone right back into our counties and cities. And so, whether it's Hardin County or Nelson County or Bullitt County or, all our 120 counties, Meade County, Breckenridge, these counties are seeing those dollars go directly into their communities. And that's different from other states. And so that was my original reason for jumping into public service was to help fight that public safety challenge, and was proud of the work that we did on that front, in addition to standing up for constitutional rights and helping get our churches reopened in 9 days, and getting the unconstitutional travel ban struck down, standing up for our law enforcement community. But the original genesis of why I got in was we wanted to help confront the public safety challenge.
All right. What in your background most prepares you to be a U.S. Senator?
I think it's because, as I'm doing today, running for Attorney General and having one statewide office, knowing what it takes to get across the Commonwealth and meet people where they are and have that really prepares me to go to Washington and stand up for everyday hardworking Kentuckians. And, I'm not paid for by big lobbyists or big banks or big business. In fact, my parents owned a small business in E-Town. It was a coffee shop, Zack's Coffee. And that's shaped my perspective on who needs representation in Washington. The big box stores and the big businesses, they have representation. We need somebody in Washington that's going to stand up for small communities and our small businesses. So that's the next United States Senator.
All right. If voters only remember one thing about why they should vote for you, what is that one thing?
Track record. I'm somebody that has, when our governor decided to shut down our churches, we went into federal court as quickly as we could and got them reopened in 9 days. I've stood for, when I said that I was going to help address the public safety challenge of our lifetime, I brought in nearly $900 to fight that epidemic. And again, it's not an end-all be-all, and it's not a magic elixir, but it is a significant down payment in helping address some of the challenges that we've experienced because of that drug epidemic. I fought the Biden administration on their lack of policies at the southern border. Again, this is all based on track record. I've stood up for our law enforcement community when no one else, that's in this race currently was willing to do that. And it's about track record, somebody that you can trust that when they go to Washington is going to stand firm for you. And so that's what I tell people to think about as they're going into the poll.
All right, quick break. Today's election coverage is brought to you in part by The Plumbing Doctor, a family-owned Hardin County plumbing company run by Glenn and Tracy Downs right here in Elizabethtown. Over 20 years serving E-Town, Radcliffe, Fort Knox, and Hodgenville, fully licensed and insured, 24/7 emergency service, and a 10% labor discount for military, first responders, and seniors. Look, showing up to vote on May 19th is one way you can take care of your community. Calling your neighbors when your water heater goes out is another. When your pipes go, call local, call 765-PLUM. That's 765-PLUM, The Plumbing Doctor. Experienced, reliable, and affordable. All right, let's get back to these questions, Daniel. Say you do end up winning the election. What is your plans in the first 90 days of taking office? Maybe give us what's the first concrete thing you really want to do, or maybe it's not that simple, but go ahead and talk on that for a minute.
Well, I look at it in two ways. First, there are obviously the committee assignments that you get involved in as a senator. So I'd be pushing for the Ag Committee because it's important to our farmers. The Energy Committee, because I talk a lot about, Kentucky leading when it comes to energy independence and the generation of more coal and natural gas in this state. And then because of my background, the Judiciary Committee. And if we have new Supreme Court justices, I'm going to be looking for folks like Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito to be new justices on the court if there are vacancies. So those are on the committee assignments side. And then on the side of the legislation, not about the Pharmacist Fight Act, and it's talking about the fact they're being pushed out of the market by these big box pharmacies and being pushed out by what is referred to as PBMs, the pharmacy benefit managers. We need to reform that process. There's a piece of legislation in the House right now called the Pharmacist Fight Back Act. It needs a champion in the Senate, and I've already committed to being that champion in the Senate, and I'm going to work on that. Another piece of legislation, again, is the Farm Bill, because our farmers need it, and it gets reauthorized, but we just need a new Farm Bill, and we need to get back to kind of regular order in the Senate as it relates to getting that Farm Bill passed. The Save America Act, We need to get that passed as well by any means necessary. It's common sense that we would have people validate that they're American citizens before they vote in our elections. Whether you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, I think you recognize that. And then another piece of legislation I'm, thinking through is what does it look like to help people that have been deplatformed by some of these social media companies? And right now, the social media companies hide behind S-230 of the Communications Act to say that they don't have any liability for some of the decisions that they've made over the years in deplatforming people. I think we need to look at that and reform that process as well, because they shouldn't be able to hide behind this piece of or S-230 of the Communications Act simply as a way to deplatform people or stymie their ability to communicate online on platforms.
All right. The next two questions, I'm going to combine them because they're not as relevant to you since it's a big race. These were more for local politicians. So you can kind of take it and punt it wherever you want. Question is, though, is your campaign self-funded, donor-funded, or a mix? And then where can people find out how they can either learn more about your campaign or, help out over these last couple of weeks?
Well, I'd say my campaign is, funded by hardworking Kentuckians. We've got more Kentucky donors in this race than any other candidate. And I'm always grateful and don't take that lightly that people are, pulling away from other places that they could be spending money to give and support our campaign. And, I'm not sponsored or backed by big lobbyists or big banks or big pharma or big business. I'm backed by people across the state. And so I've been very thankful for that. And I encourage people to go to CameronForKentucky.com if you want to learn more about how they can give. This really is a campaign that is, based off the contributions of folks all across Kentucky, and I'm grateful for you.
All right. Before we get into the U.S. Senate specific questions, a big thank you to our second sponsor, Omni Design Group. Omni is a second-generation builder based in Elizabethtown. Josh Branningham and Corey Jewell, born and raised in Hardin County, with deep family and business roots in the county. They handle new construction and remodeling, residential and light commercial. Any size home, any size reno. No project is too big, no renovation is too small, and no idea is too outside of the ordinary. They're the team that built the first storage container commercial structure in Hardin County over at Heartland Mini Golf. If you got to build, a remodel, or an outside-the-box project, call or text Corey at Omni Design Group, 270-769-8339. That's 270-769-8339. Corey at Omni Design Group. Locally owned, locally built, custom thinking. All right, Daniel, we got these race-specific questions coming up now.
Okay.
And there's 5 of them, and you got 2 minutes for each one. Well, 2 to 3 minutes per, I think, is what my notes are telling me. So
okay,
we'll get started.
All right.
For the first time since 1984, the U.S. Senate seat is open. This U.S. Senate seat is open. Mitch McConnell held it for 42 years. Whoever wins this seat takes a 6-year term representing the entire Commonwealth in Washington. What makes you the right person for this seat at this moment? And what would you do differently than the senator you're replacing?
Well, as that is a race about track record, and I've got a track record that you can see of standing up for constitutional rights and common sense values. And we need a fighter in the United States Senate, someone who's going to look out for our families and our small communities. And I've got a track record of having done that. And this really is about making sure that you have representation in Washington that cares deeply about you. Look, the decisions that are going to be made in Washington are going to impact my family just as much as anyone else's. And so I want to see good legislation. I want to see the conditions set in Washington that allow our people and our communities to thrive at home, because I live in the community. And what I can also tell you is that when it comes to Washington, I'm not going to be there forever. I'm going to serve 2 terms and then come home. Because I do think ever so often you need fresh blood, you need new ideas, and I've got to hold myself to that standard as well. And so this very much is about the future. It's about change, and there are basically 2 candidates in this, this, and One represents 14 Washington inhabitants. There's myself, who is not a Christian, is somebody who cares about our Commonwealth and wants to see everyone thrive. And I think that contrasts us, and I'm hopeful that I have the opportunity to serve.
All right. Next question is about energy transition in coal communities. Eastern Kentucky coal communities have been hit hard by plant closures and depopulation, while at the same time, there's been 3 major utility scale solar plants came online in 2020. As a U.S. Senator, how do you think federal policy should balance support for coal workers and the communities they built with the energy transition that's already happening on the ground in Kentucky?
Well, I think we've got to generate and produce more coal. And the reason I say that is because anything else is a national security risk. I mean, you think if we go to a grid that is all based on renewables and you have a cloudy day or there's no wind, that will cause a blackout or a grayout. And we just simply can't be in a position where our energy consumption and our energy generation is based on whether it's a cloudy day or not, or if it's a windy day. That simply cannot occur. And so I've actually argued that we need to have more coal stockpiles or more coal reserves so that we can avoid some of the blackouts and grayouts that come with more. God's given us these resources, form of coal and natural gas, and even some of the work that's happening in West Kentucky on nuclear. Again, if we want to reinvest in Eastern Kentucky, or if we want to make sure that small manufacturing comes to communities all across Kentucky, a strong natural gas in the Senate, because I know how much heritage it means to Commonwealth, but also as a matter of economic opportunity. I'm going to fight for it.
Mm-hmm. The next question is about disaster recovery and federal aid. In 2025, Kentucky took 2 federal major disaster declarations, one in April, one for the April storms and flooding that hit Meade County and 30 other counties, and one for the May tornadoes in Western Kentucky. As a U.S. Senator, how do you see your role in disaster recovery, working with FEMA, the White House, your counterparts in Congress, so that Kentucky and the hardest hit places actually get the help they're owed?
Well, one of the number one priority of a senator is to be responsive to constituents and have a constituent services organization within the office. And I commit to making sure that we have people that are ready, able, and can communicate with folks on the ground when these sorts of natural disasters come. When I served as Attorney General, I spent a lot of time in Eastern Kentucky and West Kentucky. We had the flooding and the tornadoes, and saw what was needed those people in terms of response times. And I to you that I'm going to be right in the middle of it, making sure that people are getting what they need. But it's also helped shape my thinking on where resources need to be spent. When you think about people that were getting pennies on the dollars for their homes that had been swept away by flooding or just devastated by tornadoes, you say, why are they getting pennies on the dollar when we're spending billions overseas for some of these efforts? That didn't sit right with me, and I don't think it sits right with most of your viewers. So you got to think more about flipping that equation so that more money is getting back to our people as opposed to going overseas. And that's why I've taken the positions that I have related to where dollars and resources need to flow. They need to stay here in our communities and in our country as opposed to going over.
All right. The next question is about Fort Knox and the military. Fort Knox is the largest employer in our region and sits right in Hardin County's back headquarters for the Army Human Resource Command, and one of the places that shapes Kentucky's economy every day. Federal military spending, installation infrastructure, and support for military families all run through Washington. What's your approach to making sure Fort Knox and the family stationed there stay supported in the federal budget process?
Well, the easiest and simplest way I can answer that is I'm going to be the biggest advocate for Fort Knox in the United States Senate. Having seen servicemen and women come into my parents' business in E-Town, I know that when you have a thriving Fort Knox and a thriving base, that impacts communities all around Fort Knox. And it's an installation that is historically meant a great deal to this area. And I want to see that be certainly into the future. That still remain the case. And so I'm going to fight to make sure we keep the same level of support and even increase it so that we can make sure that the base is thriving and we're getting, new blood in there and new people that are flowing in there. And ultimately, they help the economy around that area. And that is certainly something I'm going to be committing myself to.
All right. We're to the last question now. So we'll do that, and then I'll close out, and then I'll give you 90 seconds to close us out with, best elevator pitch for why people should vote for you. But we'll work on this last question, which is about working across the aisle. The U.S. Senate is a 100-member body where almost nothing passes without 60 votes. How do you build working relationships across the aisle? And with Kentucky's other senator, who isn't really across the aisle, but his approach may be different from yours. So just talk for a couple minutes about how you deal with people when you disagree on substance and policy.
Well, I always believe that you can be cordial with people regardless of where they fall on the ideological spectrum. And so at the end of the day, I have a responsibility to reflect my relationship with Christ. And I'll do that with whomever, and I'll talk to whomever. Now, we might not see eye to eye on every issue, but at least we're engaged in conversation. And at least you can say, hey, I've talked to Daniel. I might not agree with him, but I understand his perspective and where he is coming from. And I think we need to have more conversations like that in Washington so that we can get things done on behalf of the American people. And then, as I talked about earlier, we've got to get rid of the zombie filibuster. I know most of your viewers are probably frustrated by the slow pace of movement, dare I say nothing getting in the United States Senate. And it's all because it's skin in the game, meaning they can just go and say, hey, we're going to vote to not open debate on this particular topic or subject, whether it be the Farm Bill or the Save America Act. And they don't have to do anything else than notch a vote on a tally or on a piece of paper. And that shouldn't be the way that our system functions and designed. I think about Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. If you feel strongly in opposition to something, then go talk about it on the United States Senate floor. But then once you're done talking about it, and allow it to move on behalf of the American people. And so that's my position. Let's talk to each other, make talking and action. Let's make action the hallmark of the United States Senate. If somebody has opposition, talk about it, and then move on to a vote so we can get things done for the American people.
Yeah, that is a great movie, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
I've been quoting it a lot here recently.
Well, I could see some parallels. Yeah. But Daniel, thank you for your time. And for viewers, if you missed where Daniel said voters can go and learn more about his campaign, we'll make sure that's in the comments after the stream ends. And then with this interview, voters in Hardin County now have heard from multiple candidates in this open U.S. Senate race. We interviewed Michael Ferris and Vincent Thomas earlier this week, and now Daniel Cameron. So definitely thank you, Daniel, for coming on.
Of course, man. Of course.
One final thank you to today's sponsor, the Plumbing Doctor at 765 Plum for 24/7 Hardin County Plumbing and Omni Design Group. Call or text Corey at Omni Design Group 270-769-8339 for your next build, remodel, or custom project. This interview will stay archived on our page, and I also have the raw video files should anybody want to dispute our edits. Share it with anyone voting on May 19th. The Hardin County primary, again, I say, is Tuesday, May 19th. Find your polling place at elect.ky.gov. We thank you for spending time with Hardin Local, and we ask that you go to our website and check out the 28 different videos I've done on different candidates. And with that, Daniel, give us your best elevator pitch for why people should vote for you.
Well, Phil, I want to thank you, obviously, for the opportunity to be on this platform. And again, I applaud you for what you're doing. And my pitch is the same track record. I got into this race because of our three boys, Theodore, Bennett, and Harrison. I want to see this country be the best and brightest version of itself because of them. And we live in this Commonwealth and care deeply about it. And the policy decisions that are made in Washington are going to impact us just as much as they impact everyone that is is watch and view this interview. And so know that when it comes to standing up for your constitutional rights, when it comes to standing up for common sense values, I've got a track record that demonstrates that I will do those things with courage, even to the point where people were protesting on my front lawn and threatening to burn our house down. I've done what's right, even when a local newspaper, the Courier Journal, referred to me as the angel of death simply because I went into federal court and fought the governor's COVID restrictions. You know, with me, that when it comes to the tough decisions, I'll make them on your behalf because I know that this is not necessarily Republican versus Democrat. This is about crazy versus common sense. And I know the people of Hardin County care deeply about having a senator that stands firm for common sense. It would be my honor to have your help. I know you've got a lot of choices out there. In fact, you've got another native from Hardin County that's in this race. But I'm telling you, I'm the one that can beat Andy Barr if you're tired of the career politicians and want someone that's new and is going to fight for you and is only going to be up there for 2 terms and then is coming home. You'll vote for Team Cameron. I'd love to have your support on May 19th. God bless you.